Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman, and today we are taking a look at the Knights Templar. This is a tank build made for, of course, the Templar class. But it is a Dungeons and Trials tank, of course, like all my others. It does work out really well, but it's a little unique, so let's get into it. Starting with the race, Redguard. Why Redguard? Because their sustain is ridiculous. They work out really good for sustain, and they can self-sustain pretty well, so really good trade-off. We do have a decent max health, 36k, 28k max stam, and a 15k max magicka, which is really all we need for this build to work. We do have a 2k weapon damage with a 27% crit, we don't really need to worry about. But we do have 23k spell resist with 20k physical resist. When we buff up to our resistances, we go up to 31 spell and 28k physical. Resistance is on Templars is ridiculous. So we are using the Thief Munda Stone for increased critical. We didn't really know what one that would work really well with this build, so I took this because of certain things. Comes in play quite well. And on this we are using the max stat food, tri-stat food, so really good. We'll get into that when we go over here and look at the gear. And as you can see, we are using the longfin pasty and melon sauce food. One of the best foods you can get. And we are using the tri-stat pots. So now, what I mean by this build is different than most of my other builds is the gear sets. So we aren't running a monster set with this because trying to run a monster set with this, like, there are some that work out really well. I'm not going to lie, but this setup works out really well too, because we are running the Knights Errant set. This is unusual. You don't see a lot of tanks running this, but this gives you max health, max stamina, and weapon damage, and then the 5-piece adds 200 weapon damage to your one-handed sword and shield abilities, and when you use a one-handed sword and shield ability, you heal for 1375. So it's a nice, like, burst heal. It's a little tiny one, but it's a nice little heal. So... nice set. Next up, we are running Plague Doctors for the max health. This thing just gives a lot of health. It gives some healing taken, which plays really well with this as well. You can use Ebon Armor. You're going to lose a bit of health on this, so it's up to you. I like Plague Doctors because of the amount of health it gives. And on this, I am running supposed to be running 3 infused. I forgot to change these over to their proper things. Let me go do that, and you guys are gonna go, wow, this guy's got a ton of stuff to do that with. So, which is right, I do, because I'm on PTS and we get all kinds of crazy stuff. So yeah, PTS, remember that, gives you all kinds of crazy stuff to test with. But yeah, so the gear, you're gonna want to run 3 infused on the bigger pieces. And the reason for that is so you get the maximum amount of stats out of them. So just make sure you go infused on those, and then on the smaller pieces, go sturdy. Sturdy. So, as I said, 3 infused. The smaller pieces, sturdy. You can go reinforced on the chest if you want. It's not going to make that big of a huge difference, but it does help to have a little bit more resistances. So, and then here on the jewelry, we do have 2 healthy with weapon damage. You can go block cost reduction, it's up to you. And then we have 1 infused with magic recovery. And then moving down to the other sets that we are running, the other 2 sets, we are running the Master's Sword and Board. Now, I've been asked, what else could you use instead of this if you don't have these? That's when you use a monster set. That's when you stick with the monster set, and there's a lot of different monster sets you can use. It's really up to you, but go Knights Errant, go Plague Doctors, and then go with a monster set, and then use the Knights Errant weapons, sword and board and bow, and then that way you can do that. But try not to go with any set that's going to give you extra resistances, or you're gonna have too much. So with the jewelry though, on the Plague Doctors and the master set, with the master set though, sturdy on the sword and shield, or on the shield with the tri-stat, and then the sword itself, crush or weakening with infused. This is going to be best. And then on the back bar, another unusual thing, Maelstrom bow. Why Maelstrom? Well, it's got increased damage for that. Why not use it? Take advantage of that. You can also use the Black Arrow's bow. You can use any of the bows from the different things. As long as you're using the skill that pertains to it, it works out. But since we're using Endless Hail, this really helps out a lot. So we are using Crusher on that, like I said. So now, going over the skills, make sure you unlock all your class passives. It's very important, guys. I know I say this, I say it all the time, but make sure you get that this way. It really helps out. Next up, moving on to the weapon skills. Sword and shield, get all the passives. Bow, all the passives. And then on to armor. Light armor, you want the top 3. These do help, guys. Spell warding gives you a little bit of extra spell resist. I don't know why it's not reading. Oh, that's right, because I'm not wearing, I'm wearing all heavy right now. So if you want, you can, like with this set, you don't need to do the light armor. You don't have to do light or medium, but if you do wear a monster set, it's good to get those unlocked. And then you want to get all the heavy armor passes, because you get a lot of resistances, you get a lot of health recovery, you get extra health in return. You get 14%. Soul Magic, get these 2, and then on to this Fighters Guild. Just need Intimidating Presence, Magus Guild Persuasive. Undaunted, get those 2 passives, and Bone Shield you can use if you want, and Inner Beast if you want. So on to the racials. Make sure you get your racial passives. On this, it's surprising how well this works. So with this, you get 9% stam recovery, you get max stam, and then you get the Adrenaline Rush. Then whenever you deal damage with a melee attack, you get 792 stamina back. I know it sounds crazy, but if you're doing a lot of blocking, that plays really well into it. So alchemy, you're going to want a medicinal use, and then on provisioning, gourmand, and connoisseur. So now going over the skills. So starting with the main bar, we have Pierce Armor. This is your Major Breach, Major Fracture. It's a taunt. I guess I should have went over this too. The Master Sword and Board, real quick. So when you deal damage with Puncture, which is your Pierce Armor, you heal for 2,750. It also gives you spell and physical resist equal to the amount healed. So if you heal for the full amount, you end up with 34k spell resist and 30k physical resist. Just letting you know. So that's why this is such a cool thing. But this is your taunt, your Major Breach, Major Fracture, usual. Next up, we have Heroic Slash for major heroism, and also applies minor maim to a single target. Next up, we have Blazing Shield. This applies, or not applies, but this is your shield, and it's 34% of your max health, and increases in strength by 4% for each enemy nearby. When the shield expires, it explodes, dealing 36% of the damage it absorbed to nearby enemies. Now, they nerfed this from 40-something%, and honestly, I think that was a bad idea, because the damage you take, you're not taking more damage. They just reduced the amount of damage this thing does. That's all they did. So, but it's still a nice shield. Next on our bar, and this is one where you can pretty much try a lot of different skills, is Ritual Retribution. This is a heal and a damage over time, and it's a synergy. And it also cleanses you of 2 negative effects. So pretty nice trade-off. And then last but not least, Deep Thoughts. And this is here for the Sigic Order passives, which you want to take the bottom 2 here for Concentrated Barrier and Deliberation. Deliberation for when you're using this, and when you're not using this, you get the Concentrated Barrier, which allows you, when you block, you get a damage shield for 5.8k. Alright, so next we have Shield Discipline. We have this here because if we have those moments where we need an extra chance to block some stuff and then get some heavy attacks out while we have our shield up, we can heavy attack with this and still block all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. Like if you're down on resources, you can use that. So, and it's a nice ability. This allows you to block for 7 seconds without holding block, and then all your sword and shield abilities cost 100% less. So this is really good on the red guard, because whenever you use Pierce Armor or you use Heroic Slash, you have a chance of getting 792 resources back. With this costing you nothing, these cost you nothing, and you're getting resources back. So it allows you to block for free basically, and get resources back. So, really good. Alright, moving on to the back bar. On the back bar, we have Silver Leash. This is a pole that you can bring enemies to you if they're at ranged and stuff. Really nice, and it also reduces movement speed. It does cost stamina, though. Next up, we have Inner Beast. This is a stamina morph of Inner Fire. This costs less than the Magicka morph, and it taunts the enemy. It does a little bit of damage, and it has a chance of applying a synergy. So, nice trade-off. Next up, we have Endless Hail, which is, again, it's here for Crusher, guys. That's it. Just Crusher, but getting that extra tick of damage is kind of nice from the Maelstrom Bow. On to the next one, we have Vigor, or Resolving Vigor, your heal, like your mainstay heal. You're going to be keeping this up quite a bit, and if you have this down and you do it, you can see the heals actually a little bit better. So, next, we have Channeled Focus. I know that everyone says that the other one's better because it gives stamina back, but honestly, that's good if you're doing a stam rotation. Like, if you're doing a rotation on tanking, it's good if you're playing a block tank. But with this kind of a tank, you don't need the stamina return, because most of your stam return is going to come from heavy attacks. So you're going to Heroic Slash, heavy attack, get resources back. So that's where most of your resource return is going to come from, is heavy attacks. Just telling you. Alright. And this gives you your Major Ward, Major Resolve, which is your physical spell resistance buffs. It's also going to give you Magicka every 1 second you're standing in the circle, or you have the circle. Once you place the circle, you're going to get it for the 20-second duration. And then on top of that, you're also going to get 50% more spell and physical resistance as long as you're standing within the circle. So as long as you're standing in it, you get the 50% more. As soon as you step out, you lose that 50%. So you want to stay in this as much as possible while you're tanking. So next up, Aggressive Warhorn. This is here to increase the group's max Magicka, max stamina by 10% for 30 seconds. It also grants you and your allies major force, increasing critical damage by 15% for 9.5 seconds. Overall, this build is really unique. You have to be comfortable with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys what I mean by that. Now, when you have Adrenaline Rush and stuff like that going, and you have all your heals coming in and everything like that, and you're doing your heavy attacks, and you're having issues with your stamina, the nice thing is like I said, with this, you get resources back when you use your stuff. You get your Adrenaline Rush. And your Adrenaline Rush can happen every 5 seconds. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to burn out a lot of stamina. And now I'm going to show you guys. So when you use your taunt, because you get that 792 back, with the cost of your taunt, and it basically gives you back part of the cost. So when you add 792 or minus 792 from this, you actually take it below 700 in cost. So you're actually only costing you 700 to cast taunt with being a red guard. The other thing that's nice is Heroic Slash. So you take 700 away from this, or 800, and you end up with 1700 on the cost. So again, you're saving resources when you use this, and Adrenaline Rush happens. The other nice thing is that you can do this even while blocking. You can get your Adrenaline Rush, so it costs you less. And if you give it time, and you do it again, you see how little it's costing me? Because if I get Adrenaline Rush, if I give it time and I can get Adrenaline Rush, I can get that resource. So it's a really nice trade-off. That's why I like the Red Guard for this tank. It works out really well. And then on top of that, when you use this, you get a heal. And then because of using Knights Errant, you get a heal. So you're getting 2 heals with this, 1 heal with this, and it's another way of keeping your character health sustained. So, alright, moving on to the CP now. Starting with the Red Tree. 66 in Ironclad. This reduces direct damage taken by 22%. Moving on to the Middle Tree, we have 31 into Thick Skin, reducing damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. 56 in a Hardy and Elemental Defender, both of these reducing Poison, physical disease damage by 12%. This one reducing flame, frost, shock, and magic damage by 12%. And then, of course, moving on over here, we have 40 into Bastion. This increases the effectiveness of our damage shields by 16%. And then 19 quick recovery, increasing healing received by 5%. We are wearing Plague Doctors, so we get another 4% on top of that. So we actually get a 9% healing received with that, plus the 8% from our heavy armor. So we get a lot of healing, decent amount of healing received. So 2 in heavy armor focus because we had 2 points left over. We didn't really have a place to put it, so put it right there. Why not boost those stats? 56 in Ironclad, reducing our break free cost by 20%. We have 23 in a bashing focus, reducing our bash cost by 14. 9 into Sprinter, giving us reduced cost of sprinting by 6%. We do need these, guys. Trust me, it helps a lot. 43 into Arcanist, increasing our magic recovery by 10%. That's why we use the one recovery, is so we get that 862. But when we pop a pot, it goes to 1019 magic recovery. So this helps us with our resource return on keeping our shields up and stuff, because we have no other way of getting magic recovery other than pots. So yeah, it's a nice amount. Moving on over here, we have 43 into Tenacity, increasing our magic or stamina return from fully charged heavy attacks by 10%. We do have heavy armor passive of 25 and the same thing, so that's a 35%, and then 30% base, so we have a 65% return of resources. It's really good. Moving on over here, we have 56 into Shadow Ward, reduces our block cost by 20%. 40 into Tumbling, reducing our dodge roll cost by 16%. Both of these really good to have. This with the 16, because we have 4%. If you're wearing one piece of medium, you have 4%. You also get nether, but it's 16% base, so it's nice. Moving on over here, we have 43 into Bless. This gives us 10% to our healing done. Nothing in the rest of these. And then over here we have 25 into Physical Weapon Expert, giving us 15% to our light and heavy attack damage. 56 into Master Arms. The main reason why we got these is to unlock like Reposit. It's nice to also get this because their light and heavy attacks increase. Mighty 43. This gives us physical poison disease damage bonus of 10%, and then 43 into Thaumaturge for the 17% damage from our Endless Hail increase, and then 56 into Precise Strikes, which increases our critical damage and critical healing done by 20%. You really don't need this, to be honest. Like, you could take out of here if you wanted the 44, and if you wanted to put somewhere, you could put 40 into Elfborn, because you are using some Magicka heals. And that will leave you 4 points left over, which you could also add to this to increase your physical penetration. So, and those are just some ideas. Alright, so that is the CP, the stats, the skills. Now let's see this thing in action. Now, I probably will make a few mistakes with this. So, please excuse me for not being the greatest player with this build yet. I did get a lot of testing with it, and it works out really well, but I played it in a different way. I didn't use crushing and weakening. I wound up changing those out for a harden enchant, which gives you a damage shield, and then to the one that's physical damage, the stamina absorb. And I did that in, like, my resource management was unbelievable. Like, never, not once in any of the places that we tested did I have issues. Most of the place we tested was Black Rose. So. But we never finished it. We just went in there, tested, came out, went in, tested. We did it in Black Rose, we did it in, though, no, this one I tested in the Werewolf one. So. Alright, we got 3 ranged guys over there. So we're going to go ahead and grab them and bring them to us. Now you guys are probably going, well, your stamina is super low. Yeah, it is, but watch this. Now my stamina is not going to be so low because I can just sit here and heavy attack, because I can maintain that damage shield. And with the heals, the slight heals I have, I can keep myself alive pretty well. Not perfect, but if you wanted to, you could switch out to the heal from the class itself, the magic heal. But you wind up spending a lot more magicka than anything else, so. The best thing to use with this build is Vigor. Ritual Retribution helps because it's just a nice little heal. And it does a little bit of burning damage too, so. And it's a synergy. So it's a nice cheap cleanse. Now the nice thing is you can do, if you have the resources, do your shield and then do that and then do deliberation, or do this, because you're just going to mitigate a ton of damage because it's blocking the attacks with the ultimate, and it gives you a way to get your resources back up if you're having a resource issue. The nice thing is too is that you got the heals from the sword, so when you use the puncture you actually heal twice, and then when you sword slash you heal again. So and there we go, and that's the build in action. And that, guys, is the Knights Templar. So I hope you guys like it. I like this build. It's one of my, it's I'm not going to say it's my favorite build, but it's a really fun build to play. It works really well. It does, you know, it's a unique use, like a unique build. I won't say it will work for every situation, but it still works, and it's just something different and unique that not a lot of people have done, especially the combination of 2 armor sets and the Master Maelstrom combo. Like, nobody's really done that with a tank before, and I thought it would be a really nice change. So, but yeah, so if you guys like the build, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more builds by me, you can hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.